right, that was Brooklyn from Forget Me in June. And let's see here. Okay. And that is the third. It sounds like you've got, you guys are obviously, like you said, using a lot of computer.
Yeah, like electronics.
And,
yeah.
I never know how to talk about that because I don't really completely understand it. But, I know there's a lot of different ways that you can use it, and a lot of, you can use it a little bit or you can use it a lot.
Yeah,
So I don't really, don't really understand much of that about that. But it seems like you're really getting a lot of, definitely a diverse sound, from that. And how do you approach that differently than if you, like you said before, when you recorded with a guitar and bass setup? Is it creatively basically the same, or do you...
see, like I said, I mentioned earlier, like the first EP, we tried the guitar setup and all that. And to be honest with you, like I've been doing this for the guitarist thing for so long, I was just burnt out on it. Like I couldn't feel creative, like trying to write a new song with guitar, because I'm like, well, I know this works, blah blah. Like I felt like I was repeating myself over and over, like as a songwriter, And I've always had, ever since I was a kid, I've always loved like all the electronic music and the trance music and all that. And I've always, since like I was in second grade, I had this program called Fruity Loops that I've always kind of messed around with. And I was like, you know what, I might as well just, I have no experience. See, I always say this to people, when you have no idea what you're doing, you're usually the most creative. And we kind of walked into this EP like not knowing much about the electronic side of things. And I think it felt so fresh because we've never done like electronic type of music before. So pretty much everything we did was like a new experience. You know what I'm saying? So it was natural, I think, to answer your question.
Sure. Well, that's cool. That's very cool. So I guess that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's finding new way.
Yeah, and I'll probably get burned out on this after a while and go back to the guitar. It's just a cycle kind of thing. Sure. So yeah.
Well, you can be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So the next song is called Chloe.
Yeah. This one kind of stands out because it's the first song I've ever recorded trumpet on, and I've been a trumpet player for like 10 years now. I played trumpet in the school band or whatever, and it's funny because I never thought I'd actually record trumpet on like a, something I'd record at home. You think trumpet's like a classical or school, something you keep at school. So I never thought I'd record trumpet, but there I have. And I guess the funny thing is, every instrument I've ever played, I've quit except trumpet. So I started guitar when I was young, I quit that. I started piano when I was young, I quit that. I picked it all up later,
Sure.
I've always stuck with trumpet, and I approached the trumpet. I just ad-libbed over the electronics and stuff, and I'm really proud of like the instrumentation on this song, and
cool.
Hopefully everybody likes it.
Yeah, I really dig it too. So, all right, let's play it. Here we go, Chloe. You are listening to Community Radio for Southern Illinois. This is 91.1 FM. And I'm Jason. I'm in the studio with Michael Hicks from Forget Me in June, a band from, half of the band from Mount Vernon and half from West Palm Beach, Florida. So it's just really, really cool to me that you guys met on. You said you classified yourself as a nerd when you were talking about how you met.
Right, yeah.
And I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I love being on the internet and all that kind of stuff. I still don't do World or Warcraft or whatever.
Yeah, I don't go that far.
But I'm a little. I guess I'm slightly more aware of that stuff. But I know to be into that when you were much younger. I mean, when I was in school, there was like rotisserie baseball. That was kind of like the prelude to fantasy baseball.
Yeah. But
that's about as close as any of that stuff got to. So, and of course you grew up.
I kind of grew up in the internet generation kind of thing,
sure.
So
sure. So what? So how did you? Just your love of Star Wars? Is that what led you to that particular game? Or
man, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, we just met on that. The games had like a fan-made message board or whatever, and we got on there and started talking about games and music and all that, and we just kind of hit it off. It's pretty cool. And I think this is the greatest time for musicians. I think it's the internet generation. A lot of people are like, oh, the record companies are going down or whatever. But to me, with like all the piracy and stuff, it gives everybody even a more. It just depends how you look at it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's great promotion for like indie artists and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just how you look at it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you always done you guys have all promoted all your own material.
Yeah, everything we do is we've done ourselves pretty much. The promotion, the mixing and mastering, recording. It's just all
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You guys did the website too?
Yeah, I did the website. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I know how hard that is to do so and to keep up on.
Yeah.
And you did a better job about blogging.
Oh.
Than I did.
Yeah.
So, you actually mentioned this interview.
Yeah, I actually mentioned it on it. Yeah.
So hopefully you have some friends and
yeah, they said they were supposed to tune in, so they're probably listening right now. So.
Well, I bet if they're fans of your music, I bet they could find quite a few shows here that they could enjoy, and you check it out. So, so we really appreciate you coming in and sharing your material and talking about.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, we were talking earlier. In Mount Vernon, it's just such a kind of closed mind about music. But I love this radio station because you guys have like everything. You cover all the grounds, and it's really cool what you got going on.
That's what makes it so great. So thank you for noticing. Definitely,
no problem.
Spread the word. Spread the word. We're gonna hear track 5 now, and this one is called "Closed." Do you have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, this one kind of has a funny story too, I guess. I usually, when songs come to me, I usually like kind of record like a 30-second kind of snippet of them, and then I'll wait a week. If I come back and listen to it again, I'm like, if I'm like, oh, that's cool, I'll develop it more. And actually, this song, I came back to, I'm like, man, what was I thinking, for this instrumental? And I kind of like blew it off or whatever. And then next week I came back, I'm like, man, when did I write this? This is this is great. Like I had all these vocal ideas and stuff. So I sent it off to Adrian. I'm like, what do you think about this? You think you can work with this? And he loved it. Like all these ideas came to him, and this is all the songs. We're kind of perfectionists when it comes to recording and whatnot. We'll record things like 1,000 times just to get them how they sound in our head.
Sure. But
this song we actually did in like one try. So compared to like the earlier song like Brooklyn, it was awesome to do it in like one shot. But we're really proud of the song, and Adrian always laughs at the beginning. Sounds like a Gorillaz song, so we'll let your listeners decide about that. So
very good, very good. All right, here we go. The name of that song was "Closed" from Forget Me in June, and we were talking while that was playing about since you're getting ready to graduate, and then shortly thereafter. You're going to move down to Florida, where Adrian is, or actually near where Adrian is, and try to play some shows together and such. And I was just asking you what your folks thought about that and all that, and which led us back to where a question I started to ask you on the phone yesterday, which was how you if you had family and music influence. So that sounds like a cool story.
Yeah. Well, both my parents are musicians, and they were in a band. My dad was in a band since he was in high school, and he's always been in one up till I was born. They kind of faded out. But when I was like a kid and all, I'd wake up from my nap or whatever, and kind of go out to the garage and open the door, and there'd be smoke and these rock and roller hippies, and So I mean, they played around when I was young, and they kind of faded out because they're getting older and stuff. But growing up, I was already kind of exposed to the music scene, kind of
Sure.
with my parents playing out and all that. And my mom always tells me when she was pregnant with me, she'd be like, she says, jamming to Ozzy Osbourne really loud going down the road. And so, so music has always been a part of my life. And it's always been a part of Adrian's life too, because he's, we're involved with music at school and all that. So,
sure.
It's just always been there for me. So, in my family and all. So,
yeah. Well, that explains a lot. I'm quite impressed, as I said. And, I guess we have one more song to play here. And have a few more minutes to chat before the top of the hour, and then we're going to come back and hear a playlist that you put together for the second hour of the show.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the last song is called "My Luck." Is this one of yours or Adrian's?
We both do vocals on it.
Yep.
It's once again, it kind of reminds me of the Damn Hipster song. It's kind of a joke. Because when we were recording, we'd kind of set days. We'd get online or call each other up on the phone or whatever and be like, all right, let's set Friday. We can just sit back, chill, kind of record, get some things going on the EP. And I don't know how many times we did that and something would come up, with family. Where we're like, man, we have horrible luck. And Adrian was like, why don't we just write a song about that? That's how we'll close the EP, how we have horrible luck. I was like, all right, that sounds good. So this instrumental it's like one of the snippets I did, and I expanded on it and thought it would fit the kind of theme we had going. And once again, the lyrics are kind of broad, and all these songs we're talking about multiple things at once, you know. So, hopefully people will kind of see the humor in it and enjoy it.
Sure. I'm sure they will. So here we go with the final track from Forget Me in June. And I meant to ask you the name of the album, because it's just, is it 2?
Yeah, it's 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like 2, Roman numeral 2. So I assume that's what
yeah.
it was. But yeah, we haven't yet to mention that. So and once again, forgetmenot.com. You can go and get a free download if you want to check this out further. My Luck on DBX 91.1.